The markets open again after the worst week since the financial crisis.
Big funds, the hedge funds.
The Dow jumping 200 points at the open this morning.
It's just a good place to put your savings.
You suddenly put them together and you say, damn it, that's what's happening.
So we're started. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Business Podcast. And we have some new guests with us today. We have Austin and we have Samuel Adebisi. Hi everyone. How's it going?
Hey.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Austin. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Welcome to the Business Bubble Podcast. So, do you want to do like an intro? Like, you want us to intro? You want to do like a quick intro about yourself, about what you do, where you're based? Samuel, do you want to go first?
Yeah, let me go first. So, Samuel Adebisi. I live in the Netherlands. Of course, I'm Nigerian. What I do, let me just say, I love creating value, right? I love value creation a lot. So whether it's by starting a business, acquiring a business and turning it around, investment, and all of that, I just love creating value.
Great. Value creator.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're going to talk more about that later in the podcast today. Austin, do you want to go next? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Awesome. My name is Austin Onele. Like Samuel, I love creating values. I live in Nigeria. I currently lead operations at the Lagos Angel Network. I lead finance and strategy at the Pan-African Global Infrastructure Company. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you for your introductions. We are really excited to have you, and I'm sure our listeners are also excited to have you. Right. So your story has been very interesting. We literally connected on LinkedIn. Okay, I've known Samuel before, but decided to do this episode was literally from LinkedIn, from a post I made, and you talked about how you're interested, how you've been doing something similar. So, let's invite you over to talk about you. So last time we talked about the IPO market. We talked about on the last episode we talked about ARM's IPO market and ARM's IPO debut. If it's going to be open the floodgate for other IPOs to start happening, like in the tech space. And we've seen a lot of amazing debut. I think Instacart is coming next. We've also have Fabio coming next after IPO. We hope they also do amazing well. So this episode, we're literally going to be talking and asking questions, talking about private equity, especially for mom and pop shops. On the last episode, we talked about the great wealth transfer, right? Talking about the fact that talking about the last generation of wealthy people or business people they have to move their wealth, right? These are octogenarians, people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, having to transfer their wealth to a whole new class, a whole new set of people. So they're going to be transferring their wealth to a newer generation. Either they are selling it off or it's being inherited by a whole new generation. And you see, these are businesses that are not sexy, right? Businesses that are kind of boring businesses, right? Yeah. Samuel, do you have any input to that? Do you want to mention anything about that? Yeah.
Yes, it's a paradigm shift we're seeing in the business space. This mom and pop shop, so fragmented, so many of them, and they are one of the major drivers of any economy. Basically, they are very profitable, cash flow positive businesses, but they are not sexy, as you mentioned, and people are not looking at. People don't look at it. If you look at it in this way, look at them in terms of size, they are relatively small business. They are too big for an individual investor to buy off, to acquire, and they are too small for a standard PE firm to say, oh yeah, I want to buy this company. So because of the difference between how we have a large number of these businesses and we don't have enough buyers. They come at a relatively cheap valuation. You see some of them selling for like 1.2x to 1.5x their yearly revenue or 3x the profit. So the dynamics is not in the dynamics is not is very attractive. Yeah, very attractive financially, but because of the way the business is not so so sexy and people are not interested. But we think that this paradigm shifts, people are going to be so interested in these businesses because it's something that we're going to see for the next decade.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samuel. Like, so my question is going to be around. I want to understand, like, the first question is going to be around what industries are we seeing these mom and pop shops coming from? Because mom and pop shop denotes kind of like retail or something, right? But I know mom and pop shop is just like a general name for, like, every other. We can use a general name for every other business. Are we talking about a particular revenue threshold, or are we talking about a particular TVM transaction volume, or are we talking about a particular? What criteria do we use to like differentiate a mom and pop shop and a maybe dad and mom shop?
Okay, so if we look at when we say mom and pop shop, most people look at retail, right? But if you're in emerging countries where we have a lot of agricultural products and we don't add enough value to it, then you might want to add manufacturing companies to it, or agriculture and manufacturing linked together like that. So it's not just about retail, but let's look at it in terms of revenue. Most of these businesses make around, say, some $50K yearly, $50K to say a $250K yearly. So around that bandwidth, you're going to find a lot of them making like 70K, 50 to 70K to northward like that to buy $250K. If you are in emerging economies, if you're in emerging economy like say Nigeria, Africa, the South Asia, and all of those, right? But if you look at US, the bandwidth might be a little higher. Maybe it can be up to like $50 million revenue. So it depends on the market you are looking at.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much. So so let's go deep dive. Yeah, James.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to ask a question in terms of the potential drawbacks and challenges when it comes to acquiring these mom and pop shops, like especially when we have a situation where there's high interest rates in the world and high energy costs and high inflation also, especially when the Fed in the United States has raised rates and the ECB in the Eurozone also raised rates. What could be the challenges that could affect these businesses in the long term?
Okay, if you look at the PE market in 2022, there was a decline in deals, exit, and fundraising, and all of that, right? And this is one of those things that led to new ways of creating value and underwriting risk, and that's where what got us to this. That's where all this acquiring mom and pop shop and all of those things. That's where it came out of, born out of all of this, the high interest rate environment, the macroeconomic environment, and things like that. Right. So the major challenges to this acquisition is that most of these businesses actually don't have structure. They don't have structure, right? And they are not your typical business where you see the day-to-day activities being run like a real company, and you have people where you have personnel with defined roles and all of that, right? Second thing is that the legal structure can be funny at times. Some of them are not even registered as a legal entity. Especially if you're looking at emerging economies, some of them they are legal entity. They're just running as a sole proprietorship. Some of them are very cash based. Some of them don't even understand what valuation is. But the truth is, all of these assets and all of these things we call challenges are already priced into the companies. That is why they don't. They are not expensive to acquire. That's why they are open to selling at 1.2x, 1x yearly revenue, or even as low as 2x their profit. because we price in all of this. And in fact, some of them, sometimes the way they understand money and exit is sort of different. There was one where I was trying to acquire now, and we are giving them a deal. Like, oh, you know what? Let us lease It's actually a manufacturing company, right? So let us lease your plant for some number of years. Then we acquire it, right? Which makes a lot of sense. So let's say 5 years lease, and we acquire it after. But this one, I say, no, I want to sell it now. So I would rather you do a 5 years payment plan. And I'm like, wait, you are rejecting a 5 years lease, where you lease money, and at the end of 5 years, we are still going to pay you money to buy it. You are rejecting it and accepting for us to pay that payment. So the truth is, the difference between the lease fee that we are proposing and the yearly payments that we are going to be making is as low as $20,000.
Wow.
So they don't actually understand this dynamic. So you can actually acquire them at a price that's even lesser than their yearly revenue. They just want to get out. So all these challenges are priced in. That's just the point.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
another
How does the
point.
private equity space go ahead.
Austin, please.
All right. So another challenge that we've experienced in the acquisition of mom and pop shops is their books, right? Yeah, someone has mentioned that these companies do not have legal structure or any structure whatsoever. They operate it like a sole proprietorship, and that that in a way makes them not to be eligible to any kind of external financing from either the banks or private equity or VC, and this is because because of the structure. So what we are trying to do, I and Samuel, is we're trying to mitigate for those challenges by, first of all, before we do an acquisition, we audit the business, do a financial model, do a rundown, just check what can work. And then when we inject our expertise into this business, or we structure it for operations, then we can now enable this acquired business to be attractive for other parties to come on board, either in debt or in equity, to grow the business. Yeah, that's basically that.
Yeah, awesome first reply. I kind of want to ask a question to the both of you. When it comes to private equity in the United States and in Europe, I know both of you do deals in, I think, specifically Europe and also Africa. When it comes to the private equity space in the United States and in the European market, how does the two differ? I know in the USA, a lot of baby boomers passing down to the millennials. The millennials might want to probably sell those businesses and forget it. But in Europe, there's this culture of retaining the family business and growing from generation to generation. In the European space, in the European private equity space, are they attractive deals? Are they like people wanting to sell their family-run businesses?
Yeah. I guess what James is trying to say is that, do we find a pattern in the same deals you're doing in Africa? I don't know if you play yet. I know you might, you work in that space, but I don't know if you play yet in the European space. But do you find the same pattern because this is something like we've been monitoring for a while, and we've found this. It seems like there's some pattern. But in terms of the acquisition pattern right now, do you find the same acquisition pattern in, say, in European countries or the US market, based on your research or based on the work that you do?
Okay, based on my research in Europe, the family-owned business is actually taken very seriously, and given that I would say that Europeans are cultured people, so to speak, compared to Americans. Americans are sort of capitalist, right? So if there's an opportunity to sell at a particular price, I feel like Americans are open to selling the family business, so to speak. But Europeans are cultured. They would rather, the way I see it here so far, is that they pass over the business from one generation to another, to another, to another, like that. So they try to, because of the value for family life, they try to acclimatize them with the business early. So they get used to the business, they love the business. They don't even think about, some of them with family-owned business that are good, they don't think about going to get jobs after they're done with school and all of that. They just get acclimatized to the business, and they try to take over the business and continue the business from one generation to another because they are cultured people. In Africa, it's a little bit different. The change is sort of erratic from one generation to another. So the generation of baby boomers in Africa, what we've seen, they are different in that they've not been introduced to technology as much as their offspring. So their offspring, we are entering into an era of technology in Africa where everybody wants to do something tech related. Their children want to do something tech related. And if you look at their fathers, are sort of agrarian. So they either have a family farm that is huge with a processing plant to process whatever they manufacturing or whatever they're producing from the plant and all of that. But the children are looking at, doing things relating to tech, fintech, building stuff and all of that. Or they don't want to go and do a manufacturing business or a retail business and things like that. So the difference between both generations is sort of so wild. It's so wide and wide, both of them, like in Africa. So that difference is what is making the succession very difficult in Africa. So children don't get to continue their family business. They even tell them, oh, we want to sell it. I want to sell it and live in the city. I don't want to go and live in Kwara State because my dad owns a manufacturing business in Kwara State where he makes a lot of money. He even sends me to school abroad. I want to live in Lagos and I want to build something in Lagos. So sell it and give us the money and we're going to start life in the city.
That's interesting. So I think my next question is like, let's take it back a bit, right? Let's go back into how did you guys decide to go into PE for mom and pop shops, right? Because right now we're just noticing the trend. Like we're literally just noticing the trend like 2-3 months ago. But I know this trend has started like for a while back, right? For us to notice, it means that you guys were like one of the early players. So what made you make the decision and how did you find yourself stumbling on this? Yeah.
Okay. Permit me to use the F word, right? When you fuck around, you find out. When you fuck around, you find out. It wasn't any. So this way it started last year. We are looking at okay, where can we add value and all? And we saw an opportunity. Oh, there's this farm, 104 acres, oil palm plantation. And the owners were looking to sell it, but we're like, oh, but I'm not sure about this thing. Yes, of course, I would like to buy the plantation and add value to it by setting up a processing plant there and processing processing whatever it is for the farm there, and packaging it and selling it out there. I mean, palm oil is a commodity where we import about 48% of what we consume in Nigeria. Despite the fact that we have large players like Presco and Opomu, we still import 40% of what we consume, and it's a very important product in anything food in Africa. So I was like, okay, this is a good business, right? You don't need to push in terms of marketing before you get to sell because the demand is huge and all of that. But we are not sure about the terrain, so let us lease. So give us a 1-year lease. Let's see what happens. Let's fuck around with it and let's see what happens. At the end of 1 year, if we see it's good, then we are gonna buy it. Guess what? The owner of this farm is 90 years old, and the farm has been for 26 years. So the person is meant to pass it over to the children, but the children are not interested. So we after 1 year and we saw it was good, we were able to make good revenue and all of that. We just said, you know what? Let's buy it. So we decided to buy, which happened to be our first acquisition. So after buying it, some weeks after buying it and all of that, then we're looking to buy many others. We have many others in the pipeline looking to buy. And at the same time, we're going to hear about, and there's another old man somewhere that owns an ethanol factory of about 300,000 liters per day in Kwara State, and is looking to sell. Even if you want to lease it, they are open to you leasing it to you and all of that. And I'm like, okay. So from there, we begin to get deals and deals and deals. We have a lot of deals in the pipeline. I'm like, okay, so how do we structure this into a business and all that? All of a sudden, we saw these team shares. I'm like, wow. So this is actually a business you can raise VC fund for.
Yeah.
Nobody was we weren't expecting that at all. We never thought of it in that way until now. We're like, okay, I think we need to go to the drawing board and say, let's form a TC around our acquisition, and let's set it up as a business, like from TC around acquisition. Okay, so we're acquiring things where it has to have we need to be able to add value to the business. So let's say it must be something related to manufacturing, but the manufacturing must have 100% local content. That means that we'll be able to find all of the raw materials for it locally, so we don't have FX problem. It must have export potential, and we are never gonna buy anything more than 2x the revenue, no matter.
Okay, good. That's interesting. F around and find out.
Yeah.
But you're effing around with money, correct?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because that's why we start with a low, just like, let's call it an MVP. Our MVP is, let us lease it and see what happens.
Okay.
Let's lease it. So with that, we're only committing about less than 10% of the purchase consideration into leasing it and trying to F around to see what comes out of it, if it's going to be a good one for acquisition or not.
That's good. My next question is even around that. Like, maybe Austin is going to answer this. I wanted to understand, like, how different acquisition strategies, like in terms of that you've employed. Like, you've mentioned leasing, you've mentioned buying it outright, and yeah. So maybe you can give us insight into different acquisition strategy you employ and why you're using the acquisition strategy. Like, yeah. If you can give us visibility into that.
Okay, so basically, the ones we've employed is the outright acquisition, or lease to own, or like in project finance, we have something like a concession style. So to a large extent, we're trying to employ that, or we will employ that in our acquisition strategy, where we have. Give me a second. Okay. Well, where will we have? We'll tell this owners of this business that, see, you have the experience, you have the expertise, right? If we acquire and if we acquire you directly, it's going to be a disservice to us. You have the network. So what we'll do is that you'll still be under our board, possibly like a non-executive director or something like that, or a chairman of the board, right? You provide us with your resources, your network. We will operate, we will rehabilitate, we operate it for a particular period, and then maybe like in 10, 15, 20, 30 years, we'll have the option to transfer it to any of your, I guess, lineage, or we can rehabilitate and operate, and we'll be paying you off. We're paying you off like step by step. I think that's the strategy that we're also considering, more or less like integrating project finance structure into this, because I mean in Dubai this strategy worked, where they'll get a private a private sector participants to come and rehabilitate a public or an inefficient business, right? And then this private sector participant will not be paying this public sector participant a percentage of the revenue, in the hopes of acquiring the whole business. And that way, risk is being managed by both parties. But for now, but for now, our major strategies is just either direct acquisition or lease to own. Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much for letting me know. Direct acquisition on lease to own or project financing. So I guess the project financing works where you're trying to acquire, structure different types of parts of the business. Then you can also increase your equity ownership as time goes by.
Exactly. So in the developed markets, we have something called the management buyout, where you are you are getting, or rather the leverage buyout, where you are getting debt from the banks. So um, I really don't understand the whole dynamics, but based on what I've read, you're getting debt from external institutions to step by step buy out the major um, um, the um, the major equity holders in the hopes of like full on buying off the equity partners. So that could also be a possible strategy. But again, for now, the first two that I mentioned is our primary acquisition strategies.
Great. I don't know if someone wants to add anything to that, or I just move to my next question.
No, move on to next. I mean, it pretty much answered everything.
Perfect. So my next question is regarding. So we have a lot of retail people listen to our, like retail investors now listen to our podcast, right? People chasing alternative investment, wanted to like add conversation and all of that. So I want to know if this opportunity is actually open to retail. A lot of, for example, the public market was radicalized or designed or productized towards for retail investor with the likes of Robinhood, right? With Robinhood, you can have access to like public markets. Also private market, some other players are also like trying to like make private market accessible. For example, Get Equity was trying to do for VCs in Nigeria. We also have platforms like Republic and the likes and AngelList where private or retail investors can like go in and buy a chunk of or crowdfunding also available. So for private equity, for example, is a very, should I say, closed asset class because you have it's a very closed asset class. It's just for some specific number of people. But now talking about mob and pop shops, is there an opportunity for retail investor coming in on board in being part of this asset class? Asset class participation.
So we're working on democratizing it, right? But I think in terms of the structure and all of that, I will leave it to Austin.
Yeah, so definitely we're working on democratizing it. So the way we see it, somewhere has a platform called he has a financial platform, so he understands digital finance products very well. And me, I have worked in project finance and structured finance, so to a large extent, I understand how to structure transaction. But essentially, how we're going to do it is more or less like creating SPVs to acquire these businesses, right? Because the challenge is not even the businesses, getting the business. I mean, in our pipeline alone, we have a lot of businesses, like a lot. The problem why we are not able to do all of them, if we have the liquidity to do all of them, definitely we'll be on a BlackRock acquisition drive. We just acquire because I mean there are a lot of businesses, right? And the good thing about this kind of businesses is that if essentially all these businesses start working, the economy of Nigeria starts working. Right?
Yeah.
Just imagine, for example, that ethanol distillery plant that Samuel mentioned about. Assuming in a day it produces close to like 5,000 liters of ethanol, right? So what that would do, that would cause something called import substitution. Right now, what people, the likes of Dangote does, is import either molasses or ethanol to the country, or the likes of this Norwegian company. That's what they do, right? So now, so if we have one or two factories, okay, let's say only one factory of that ethanol distillery plant, right, and that produces ethanol. So it's birds pharmaceutical companies. So there will be no need to import drugs like paracetamol or drugs like anything that ethanol is going to be used to provide these drugs. And that the ethanol product could also be a substitute for exportation, because I mean the FX alone, right? You are producing ethanol cheap from either cassava or sugarcane. I'm a fan of cassava because it is in abundance quantity. So you are producing ethanol from cassava and you are importing and you are sending it out, receiving FX, right? That's to a large extent increase the GDP of the country. So that's just only one businesses, and we have different kind of businesses. We have a cotton business, a chocolate factory, a jam making factory, like an oil palm business, a rice plantation, a wheat a manufacturing company. So these are a lot of businesses. So the availability of business is not the problem. The problem now is the finance to acquire all this business, and also the agreements you have to have with these people, whether that is going to be a lease to owner or a direct agreement. And another thing I am also considering, I mean, me and Sam is also considering in the development of a platform, is we do not, because the problem these businesses faces is one, the operationalization of the businesses, right? So a good thing for the oil palm business, we have an operations manager that is very experienced. He used to work with Obasanjo Farm, so he understands the business. So our goal is so that it is anytime we do an acquisition of any businesses, we get through a series of effective due diligence, we get a very effective operations manager to operationalize this business, right? And then give them finance to make sure that the business grow, and they will have a turnaround plan. They will have how they can make sure that this business works, right? And yeah, we will have like a finance team that is spearheading all these businesses to ensure that that like the books are properly kept. There are no predatory debt or loan that can affect them. We'll capitalize on government incentives, we'll capitalize on our relationship with various financial institutions to get the credit that some of these businesses require, right? So all in the aim of making it a not as much as it's going to be decentralized, it is not going to be fragmented as before. It's going to be like a network of small businesses that are working in tandem to boost the economy. So that's the structure. We developed a white paper. We are still just doing like conducting our research, user research, and all that to make sure this thing work. But yeah, that is what will come out in the coming weeks or months.
That's good. That's good. Thank you very much for giving us. I don't want to ask like detailed questions, but thank you for
I wanted to actually add to that. So if you ask me in a sentence, right, I would say that we're using this strategy to build Africa's industry. We are building industry in Africa for Africans with this strategy. And it's amazing how fast-paced we are moving. In July, as of July, what we acquired 104 acres of oil palm plantation, and we set up a processing plant immediately. So you manage the farm, you have the farm, and you have a backward integration from your manufacturing plant. And guess what? We're already in the process of moving from the 104 acres to 1,000 acres within July to now. So it's amazing how fast-paced we are actually moving. By the end of next year, I believe that we're going to have 10 times what we are talking about, because as we are moving to 1,000 acres now, we already talk with a particular vegetable oil production factory that has backward integration in Ore, around Ore, Benin there. It's actually owned by a Chinese who came to Nigeria and invested in it, and he wants to divest because he was moving from that to shea butter in Nigeria. So he produces it and would send the shea butter to China, but he wants to divest from the oil palm. He's okay with leasing. He's okay with profit sharing to own. He's okay with any form of this thing that we bring. And here we're talking about 5,000 acres of land. So, and we have 5,000 acres of plantation and a huge vegetable oil production factory. So this is a movement.
Wow, it's a good movement. It's a good movement. So my last question, second to last question would be around, can you give us an insight into your multiples? Like in terms of, you say you buy a business for like 2x multiple or 1x multiple, right? How, let's say 6 months on 1 year, how long have you been able to what is success like for you? What has been success for you? Like, what has it been like? Is it like, do you 5x? Do you 10x? Do you,
Okay, so truth be told, it's still very early. And as I mentioned, last year, and from last year to now, we only have the 104 acres. And despite the devaluation of the Naira, on the 104 acres, we're able to get a revenue of $78,000 and a profit of about 20, let me check. Yeah, $27,000. 27,000 in your first year of operation. And do you know why this is low? Because I feel the profit margin is low because we are learning. So when we wanted to lease it, we weren't sure of what the lease amount would be. So let me just say that we paid a high price for the lease. Let me put it that way. We could have paid way lesser. Is that price that is the major driver of the cost that made us bag only a revenue of $27,000. So that's why we outrightly said, oh no, we are buying this. So in terms of multiples, acquisition multiples, this particular one, we bought it for 1x. So which means that we bought it for around $78,000 for 1x. The truth is, in our thesis, from what we've seen in this market, with the low level of competition in the acquisition of these companies, we can't pay more than 2x for any acquisition for now. Because if you pay 2x, if you follow the law of demand and supply, a 1x to 1.5x is actually okay, and they are going to actually accept it. So why will you pay 2x? Why will you pay more than 2x?
But what about your projection? What's your projection like? I know we just started, so you might not be able to you might not even have finished a financial cycle, financial year. But what's the projection like, let's say in 5 years, based on your model?
Okay, based on our model in the next 5 years, well, I don't know where to start from. So currently, right, we have 104 acres, right? In the next 5 years, I want to have, I'm talking in terms of sections. Let's talk about the one that we have acquired, the industry in which we are in. So here we're going to talk about the palm oil processing, right? Currently, we have 104 acres. In the next 5 years, we want to have 100,000 acres of land, palm oil plantation. So currently, we have a production capacity of about 1 ton per day, and we want to move that by 100x in the next 5 years, 100 tons per day. Now, look at this projection, be like, oh, maybe it's not this thing, but the truth is that you need input, right? So you need to develop your plantation so that you can develop your factory. Of course, we can set up a 100 tons per hour factory right now. Right now, we can set it up. But the truth is, you're not going to be able to get the fresh fruit bunch for you to be able to feed the factory. So you need to develop both sides simultaneously. You develop your plantation that's going to give you input, and you also develop your manufacturing. That's for that side of the business you've done. But as a whole, like the whole business as a whole, the whole acquisition of mom and pop shop as a whole, we are looking to have our foothold and be leaders in 5 key manufacturing in Nigeria. And out of the 5, we are still in the process of effing and finding out, right? And the first one so far, we have picked, of course, the oil palm and also cassava derivative, ethanol, and starch. So the other 3 is still open out there for us to, F around and find out.
Yeah.
So in all of this 5, you want to be the leading, you want to have the leading companies in all of these 5 major manufacturing, 5 major industries in Africa, and be able to export all of these products from Africa and beyond.
Okay, let me add to that. I think Samuel is trying to be very humble and conservative. The truth, the truth is that in less than 5 years, given this strategy that we are looking to employ, because we are going to capitalize on the current macroeconomic structure, which is very weak, and the also geopolitical yeah. So we're going to capitalize on these 2 factors, and in less than 5 years, our vision is to be as big or even bigger than BlackRock in Africa. So BlackRock is a private equity firm that's focused on already established businesses, right? But I mean, if there are multiple distressed moribund businesses in Nigeria, and because of either poor leadership or poor infrastructure or poor this or poor that or no liquidity, now imagine, and Nigeria is just one of 54 countries in Africa. Imagine if we permeate our tentacles across all these countries in Africa, looking for business like this to make a very stronghold per se. So we are projecting that we are going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest financial or acquisition company in the world. So that is our vision in less than 5 years. And this is just me just speaking basely. It's not me speaking conservatively or overhyping ourselves. It is based on what is on ground. And yeah, so that is what somewhere again is trying to be very conservative. Yeah.
I started my career as a research analyst, so that's still, that's still it's still there, it's still in the blood. Where you want to, if you want to, Michael, you want to be so conservatism and all of that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you very much. I want to ask if you have any final words, maybe for our listeners. Maybe you want to talk about when your retail platform is going to be ready, where anybody wants to plug into, effing around and finding out with you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks to all the listeners. We happy to be on this platform, and you can reach us. You can reach us through this. Just reach out to Sam. He's gonna connect you to us in case you have any questions you want to ask. We're happy to listen to you, to answer your questions, and to see where we go further from here. Thank you very much.
Austin, do you have any final words?
Yeah. So my final words, thank you so much, Samuel, for putting this platform, and it's allowed us to talk about our experience. And yes, so we are inviting the general public or people interested in furthering the development of Nigeria and Africa as a whole to connect with us, and come, let's build Nigeria a step at a time, because that is very important. Because a lot of people in diaspora are, I think, based on my personal experience, my cousins, they are outside the country, my friends are outside the country, and they will want to own a business back in Nigeria, or they will want to come back, right? But they do not know how, or maybe that there are some challenges, I guess either, I don't know, some that trust challenge, or some Yeah. So, but I mean, when our platform will be ready, it will be an opportunity for people that has liquidity, or people that want to own businesses, or people that want to change the narrative of Nigeria or the narrative of Africa, to do that, to develop this country a step at a time, contributing to employment, and irregardless of whether government wants to help or not. What we can assure you is that we'll put every last time of our blood to ensure that this works. And we are going to ensure that, I mean, and thankfully, because of our relationship with the Nigeria financial service institutions, we have some very valuable network that can provide either technical, operational, financial support to ensure that this thing works. So we'll put every last, I mean, we already put in every last drop of our blood, even for the acquisition of the oil palm and the potential ethanol distillery plant. It shows that we already have skin in the game, yeah. So yeah, we're inviting the listening public to jump on this journey with us to build Nigeria a step at a time.
Thank you very much, Austin, and thank you, Sam. So yeah, definitely, I think we're definitely going to invite you again, maybe in 6 months' time, maybe in 8 months' time. Please make sure it's our invitation, right? Just like get an update on how it's going. I really appreciate it. We love having you around, and thank you very much for your input. Thank you for helping us demystify this topic. So yeah, I think so thank you, everyone. I think that's all. We're wrapping up now. Thank you for listening to the Business Bubble podcast, and look forward to our next episode. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.